Good afternoon, everyone. Been a while. That's unique this time of year. I think first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate Lauren on your Hall of Fame and an award-winning and illustrious career, 66 years. God dang, Lauren, that's a long time. Gee, many Christmas. But congratulations. I'm happy for you, and it's well deserved. But as we move in, it's been an interesting 10 days. I think the one thing we've done is try to simulate a game or two. We've tried to work on ourselves a little bit, and then find and manage the right amount of rest in that time frame. So, we'll see. We expect a very, very fast and furious finish. I think that the last month of the season has a lot of unknowns. As we took that into account as we were really taking this time off, knowing that it's probably the last real extended period that we get of practice and a lot of game preps coming up. So anyway, I got number 7 Iowa coming in. I got the best player in college basketball, in my opinion, in Luka Garza. Very, very efficient. I mean, it's scary to think of his offensive efficiency numbers. And Wieskamp is having a phenomenal year, an improved player, if you can imagine that. And then, this is a deep team. They go 10, 11 deep. They're mixing up their defenses, as Fran always does. But they're a team that you've got to make shoot hard shots. They're going to make some, and you've got to keep the foot on the gas yourself as you move on to the offensive side, because you've got to. They're going to score points, and they're very gifted that way. So. Exciting game. Looking forward to get back into games and get playing again after the long layoff. And we'll throw it up tomorrow night.
Hey, Brad, I'm not sure if there's a way to quantify this, but how close were you to maybe getting another game since last Tuesday instead of this 10-day break?
We worked really, really, really hard at finding a non-league opponent who fit testing protocols. We thought on a couple of different occasions that we kind of gave ourselves a window of maybe Friday through even Tuesday of playing a game if it fit right. Obviously the weekends become very challenging as conference games are going on. Most everybody's playing. But we went through the cancellation list, the postponement list, and we were close on a couple of occasions, but it just didn't work. And for whatever reasons, and you factor so many people in, from state health officials to athletic directors, and you go right on down the list, and there's a lot of reasons these games didn't happen.
Okay, then sort of totally different subject, but I remember Kofi last year talking about his matchups with Luka Garza as he took those as a learning experience. I guess, what do you feel like maybe he did learn from those, and how do you maybe view that matchup with both those guys another year older?
Well, Luka's a great one to learn from. There's not much he does that is not with great effort, with a great motor, with a great thought process. He's a very, very efficient player in the way he manages his efforts, his skills. So I think that when you watch film and you start seeing how he does certain things, there was a lot for Kofi to observe from another player, and one that obviously was National Player of the Year. So then you face him and you see what he's what he's capable of doing, and I think those are all things that help motivate Kofi.
Thank you.
Brad, is it easier to scout an opponent that's coming off a big loss?
Doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to get most of the time teams in this league after a loss are you're getting a monster, you're getting the best, and I would expect nothing different. But there's no different. In this league, people are going to lose games, and you're going to see why they struggled or what caused them to lose, and sometimes it may be nothing, that they just missed shots or they didn't have their A game. But no difference there.
And Fran says CJ Frederick is day to day. Is he their best defender?
He's one of them. He's really good. I mean, he's a really good player. He's an effective. You watch him early in the season, and I mean, he was extremely effective for them. He probably is. I happen to think Wieskamp's a very good defender as well. He's got great hands, great length. But he's one of them.
Thank you.
Coach, you've mentioned in the past that, say you have a game on Wednesday and a Saturday and you don't have much time to work on what went wrong Wednesday because you got to get ready for Saturday. In this 10 days, were you able to work on things, and specifically what was that?
Yeah, I mean, we both ends of the court, we kind of cleaned some things up. We've worked, again, it goes back to, you can never be too good at your fundamental things. And sometimes when you get into scouting reports, no matter who you play, you get very tendency based and you lose sight of some of your fundamental things. So just simply guard the ball. Your closeouts with your hands, your positioning away from the ball, all those things we touched on. We've on the offensive end, it's just simply getting back to all of our ball screen stuff and really breaking things down on the offensive end. And we did some things putting guys in different positions. So, all that was good for us.
My other question is that there was a Naismith mid-season defensive player of the year list that came out today and did not have Trent's name on it. I'm just curious if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, to say I'm angry would probably be the understatement. I don't know what they look for. I know so many of those deals get based on a steals number or get based on a block shots number. And I think anybody who's faced Trent Frazier, coaches will know that he is absolutely probably, if not the best, one of the best defenders, and has taken a lot of guys out of a lot of things. And it's a travesty, in my opinion. I'm very, very frustrated for him, for our team, for our program, because we know how valuable he is on the defensive end. The guy that takes charges, dives on the floor, always guards the other team's best player, and has really negated a lot of very, very good players. So I'm not very, very happy with that. And again, that's we understand how important he is and the job he does.
Thanks.
Brad, what do you think the impact of not one, but both teams having several days off is about this game tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think everybody approaches it. I mean, I would think that there's going to be a great amount of energy. I think, we've probably got the proper amount of rest, the proper amount of practice. I would think that, they've done the same thing. Frederick didn't play in the last game. Obviously gives him an opportunity to heal up, and I don't know what his injury is. I think that's one of the best things about maybe this is you get kind of healed up a little bit in some areas, but you can also be a little rusty. So, we'll see how the game flows and how it starts. And, but I think it'll be a high energy game.
Some stuff being written about conferences possibly considering, or at least some coaches saying they don't want to have conference tournaments this year. Do you have any thoughts on that, on doing the Big Ten tournament this year in the pandemic, especially if you might be in a place where you're securely going to be in the NCAAs?
Well, I think the one thing is that the one thing I've figured out is this: what is that? A month, 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away? That's a long time in COVID, in our COVID world today. And I try not to get more than a week ahead. But I think if we have a conference tournament, I think that there's some challenges to that. I think there's some benefit to that. Now, obviously, I think right now we've got a league that's got 10, 11, 12 possible opportunities to get teams in. But with so many unknowns, Scott, in terms of what our schedule will look like, we'd be foolish to think that somebody's not going to pause again and kick in some more games that have to be made up. I don't know what all that looks like. So really to speculate would be foolish on my part. I'm going to have no say in it, really. I mean, the league's going to do what they think is best for our league and our coaches. And obviously we want to do it with the safety and health of our student athletes first and foremost. That's the one thing I can tell you. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize our team or anybody else that has the opportunity to play in postseason. We want them to be as safe as they can be.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach, we saw a couple chippy moments in these games last year, whether it be on the court, in the handshake line. Io said after the game, we don't like them, they don't like us. How have you seen this rivalry develop and kind of rekindle? Have you paid much attention to that? Maybe not as much as fans and media.
Yeah, I don't, these are games that become great for college basketball. They become great for fan bases. I mean, can you imagine what this building would be like tomorrow night at 8:00 and the excitement and the energy? They're a top 10 team. You've got to have a good team to be able to go compete against a top 10 team and to have a rivalry. You've got to have it heated, and you've got to have good teams, and it's fun. And to me, that's what makes college basketball really special. I know the job Fran does is unbelievable. He's built an unbelievable program there. And they compete, man. He's got competitive kids, and so do we. And we're going to show up for 40 minutes and throw it up, and whoever's got more points at the end is going to be happy, and the other one's going to be pissed. And that's the way it works in a great rivalry. And fans can talk about it at the water cooler or the coffee shop and whatever, and I love that. That's what it's about.
I know you've talked some already about Kofi and Luka. To have one be the nation's leading scorer, the other be the nation's leader in double doubles, how rare is that in college basketball, and to have just that emphasis on the big man?
Yeah, I think there's two guys in the top 25 or 30 in scoring in the country that are that aren't guards, and Luka's leading it. And then to have a guy that's as dominant as Kofi, I mean, it's amazing because I watch so many other leagues, and I don't watch our teams play when they're live on TV. And I'm watching a Big 12 game the other night, and it's 10 guards on the court. I mean, the era of the big man is gone, except in our league, really. I mean, you just don't see it. And so it's great to see it. Those guys they're both really talented players. They're both really good players in their own way, and they do it differently. And to me, it's great to see that.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Brad. A lot of people have talked about you either got to take out the shooters or you got to take out Garza for Iowa, and it's one or the other. Do you view it as that way? I know Garza's had, in their losses a lot of points and success. So I'm wondering how you view that.
I don't know if you contain Luka. I mean, look, you're going to do a great job on Garza, and he's going to get 20 to 30. And you're going to do a great job doing it. And you're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. And, teams that do that, that's why they're, one of the most efficient teams in college basketball in the offensive end. They've got really good players around them. And so, I think you got to make touches hard. I think you got to make things contested and then not give them or Luka easy baskets. And then, you got to try to contest. And they're a team that is a good hard shot making team. They jump up and hit contested threes and make shots from deep, and you can't let that bother you. You got to keep doing what you do, and not get too consumed with it. So yeah, they got really good players, and I don't think you worry as much about one as you do the other. Obviously, you pay attention to Garza, but all of a sudden you look up and Bohannon's got 20, and Wieskamp's got 20, and Frederick's got 20, and Nunji's got 12 off the bench, and you're in trouble. So you just got to be very solid, very committed, and make things as difficult as you can for them.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Hey, Brad, I talked with Quay Jones about how he met you and how he came here to Illinois. And I was hoping to get your side of the story about how you met and what you saw in him and wanted to bring him onto the program.
Well, and that goes back, to a relationship with Tyler back in Nacogdoches. And it's one of the great challenges when you move to a new community is not as much you. People want to meet the head coach and they want to meet their wife, and yet you worry as a parent about your kids and how they fit in. And Tyler was leaving a very successful high school program in South Carolina, and all of a sudden now here he is in his last couple of years of high school, moving to Nacogdoches, and Quay Jones was that guy. Quay was the guy that reached out to Tyler, took him under his wing. We'd bounced around enough states. Tyler didn't have a driver's license yet. I don't think Tyler drove till his senior year in high school, because every state goes about getting your driver's license different. And so Tyler didn't have a car. So Quay had a little pickup and would come by every morning and pick him up for school. And they played basketball together. And Quay was a good little basketball player, and went on and played in the junior college ranks. So it's a great story. He's a terrific young man, and he's been invaluable for us. And ended up at Houston with Kelvin and was a manager there. And Kelvin just had glowing reports about him. So we feel privileged to have him.
And everyone talks about having to bring your own energy this year. I think people know how much energy Quay brings when they see him in the player intros with the handshakes. I mean, just how important is that, having a guy like that that's able to be part of the team?
Absolutely. I mean, that's cool stuff. That's bonding stuff. That's stuff that, I'm just pissed Quay hasn't got me a handshake yet. Not that I would remember it, but it's just one of those deals that's unique. It's fun. He works out with these guys every single day, and has an unbelievable bond with them. So it's pretty cool for the players and Quay to tie all that together.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Hey, Brad, Indiana actually stifled Iowa a little bit and held them to their lowest point total of the season. Did you watch that game? And if you did, what did you kind of see from them that maybe you guys can implement?
Well, Iowa was great, or Indiana was great. First of all, they hung in, and there's different parts of the game that are extremely important to watch in that game. And what Iowa does is they have a tendency in the last 5 minutes of the first half to really put you away, to make things comfortable. And they have their line changes, they change their defenses, and all of a sudden you get in the last 5 minutes of a half. And what was important in that game was Trace Jackson had 2. They had their whole front court in some foul trouble, and they were playing them. And yet when Iowa put those guys back in, it was an 8 or 9 point game, and it ended up being 4 or 5 or 6 at half. Iowa didn't pull away. And then it became a game, and they did a great job of attacking their zone. Trace did a great job of putting foul pressure on them. They made some shots, and that's what you have to do when you go on the road and win. It was one of those nights for Iowa, like we had against Maryland, where things aren't just quite right, and you get beat in this league if you're not quite right.
And then going back to scheduling a bit, the league has kind of started to shift games around. Do you think it's going to be possible to make up either one of those Nebraska or Michigan State games down the line? And have there been any discussions about that?
Well, there's discussions. Nothing's been definitive in terms of what's been set yet. I would think they're going to try to get as many as they can. I think we've got to try to figure out if there are many more delays or pauses. State had. They had 4 games in 1 week. They played. They were supposed for a 5th game in like 9 or 10 days, and of course Michigan went on pause. So at what point becomes too much? And I think that's the question we've ultimately got to answer, knowing that we're going to try to get games in. We build in for an open week to fill in with some games. But yeah, I think fast and furious down the stretch will be pretty common theme.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, we talk a lot about Fletch, but it's a pretty cool deal that his wife Kylie is the strength coach for the women. Atmosphere does that bring, having those two so connected there?
Well, I don't know of anybody else that's husband and wife in the country, to be very honest. And that just may be, there may be somebody. So I don't want to say they're the only ones, but no, there's tremendous synergy. There's tremendous connectivity. If you know Fletch, he thinks about this 24 hours a day. It's not something that is hit or miss with him, and he just does it when he's here. And then having a spouse to bounce things off of, I think is tremendous. I say all the time, Kylie's the tough one. But again, you're talking about Kylie has been on the men's side. So she's dealt with it before and dealt with guys. And so it's a unique working situation. It's one that works great for us. And we're privileged. We all talk and we know how good Fletch is. But to double up and get 2 people who are that committed is something that's really a benefit to our athletic program.
Then I've got to ask, have you taken a beet juice shot, and what kind of commitment does that take from the guys to do 2 of those a game?
No, I love them. I'm ticked off that the shipments are backed up. We can't get them in. I'm a beet juice guy every day. And that's one of my first things in the morning that Fletch and Palmer have got me hooked on, but they are not great tasting now. They leave a pretty good, and if you get one that's warm and not cold, oof, it's nothing like a good chase with your morning coffee.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad. I know you are all about nameless, faceless, but has the last 10 days, with it being so long of a time period off, has it been even more of a challenge knowing that it is Iowa coming up next, that, that's the last team that you guys played to end the season and in what was one of the most exciting games of the year with that atmosphere? Is it just kind of been a challenge knowing that it is that, kind of what's turned into one of the biggest rivalries in the Big Ten?
We haven't played it up like that. I think it was about getting better. And I think we all understand that, they had the same thing. They had a layoff as well. And, for 4 or 5 days, it was just about us. I mean, it was about us, and we didn't talk about anybody. We rehashed the Penn State game right after, but kind of let guys with the start of classes getting back going, have a day or two and kind of get ready and acclimated to the start of school and what those new time frames look like. Again, then when it was time for Iowa, then it's the next opponent, and it's here we go. So the veterans know, and like I said, I think everybody's excited just to get back into playing games again.
And then on a different topic, a few weeks ago, you kind of spoke out on behalf of high schools in the area and the IHSA to get basketball going. Now that, basketball can return at the high school level, what was your reaction like seeing that, some of these area schools and players are going to be able to finally get are back on the court after such a long break?
Well, you're pleased, you're excited. I mean, I can remember, what it was like, in high school. I mean, you're just giddy to play. You're excited. The competition, things are. It's exciting that pretty much everything's kind of moving back towards that. how they're putting schedules together and all that, and talking to high school coaches has been fun to communicate with some of them in terms of how they're doing it. But you're just excited, and you know that kids put a lot of time into it, and they're looking forward to the opportunity to go compete. So I'm grateful. We're doing it in what I think is a very safe way, and it's been well thought out by the IHSA and the state health, and so I'm glad there's a resolution to that, and everybody gets the opportunity to participate and have some fun.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Coach, I know Kofi's always up for a challenge and loves competition, but with tomorrow being against Garza, someone he really respects and relishes playing against, have you maybe seen anything different from him preparation-wise, mentality-wise, anything along those lines heading into tomorrow night?
No, I think that's one of the things that Kofi's really matured. I think last year there was maybe a little, he maybe wouldn't tell you, there was maybe a little hint of anticipation or anxiety because he was having that kind of year, and I think now Kofi's matured into, okay, I'm a double machine too. You got to deal with me as well. And but Kofi's a proud young man, and he likes to compete. He knows how good Garza is, and Garza is going to score some points. There's going to be no shutouts tomorrow. So you've got to keep doing your job the best you can do it every single time, and on the other side of the court, they've got to guard Kofi too.
From a coach's perspective, what's it kind of like to be able to see two players that talented? I mean, like you said, big man fives are just kind of not existent in basketball anymore outside of the Big Ten. But from a coach's perspective, what's it like to see those two guys kind of go at it?
Yeah, I mean, you think about 10, 15 years ago, you would potentially see those guys as both being, I'm not going to say 1 and 2, but you would see both of them in the top 5 of the draft. And now in today's world, you've got to figure out, I mean, who would have thought National Player of the Year in college basketball would come back? Usually the business of basketball makes you go. And that's how the game is differing today. So I love it. I think it brings tremendous excitement. I love seeing really good players go head to head, no matter what position. But you start getting back into some of the great matchups that have happened in the history of college basketball, and they've always evolved around great big guys, a lot of really good bigs, and you can go from Alcindor to Walton to whoever, and right on down the list, and go through the history of this league, and some of the great games of all bigs, and this we got 2 of the very best going at it tomorrow night.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, Brad, just had a quick follow-up. Which Big 12 game were you watching that was 10 guards? I'm just minor detail, but I was curious.
Kansas and Oklahoma, and I was watching the rerun at 2:30 a.m. when my ass couldn't sleep because that's a typical night anymore. So that's when I do just so you guys know, that's when I do all my film watching. I go to bed at 9. I wake up about 2. I can't go back to sleep. So I watch film all night because then I don't have media and have to deal with all you guys, So I'm not bothered. But yeah, I also had that game on, and it was interesting because there was literally 10 guards on the court.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Congrats, Lauren. Happy for you.
Thank you. Took me a while to get to the mute.
66 years. I'm impressed. We'll see if any of these guys can make it 66.
It's a long haul. My last hurrah.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah, it is.
Enjoy. Congrats. See you guys.
Okay, stand by. We'll have Kofi here shortly.